Center, the National Broadcasting Company presents Late Night with Jimmy Fallon.
Good evening, all, and welcome to The Tonight Show. I'm Jimmy Fallon, and I'll be your host for the evening. Tonight's show is quite special. We will be honoring a famous philosopher and author. The two special guests on our show tonight are William Golding and Howard Gardner. Stay tuned after this short commercial break. Welcome back, and in case you just tuned in, you're watching The Tonight Show with your host, Jimmy Fallon. We're now on to introducing our two special guests for tonight's show. Our first guest is an English author and poet, and his name is William Golding. Our next guest is a philosopher and professor of education, and his name is Howard Gardner. Welcome, guys, and thank you for joining me on the show tonight.
Of course, anytime. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I'm really glad to
That's
be here.
good to hear. So let's first start off with talking about Howard Gardner's theory over here. So Howard, can you explain to us a little bit about your theory and how it came to be?
As you guys know, intelligence is a very controversial topic. It has many gray areas, and this was one reason why I really wanted to start this theory, so I could abolish all these gray areas. So my theory refers to students and how intelligence does not come from a single entity. Rather, we're all born with intelligence, and it's in our hands to embrace it. This theory it's encouraged schools, education systems to diversify how students learn. Rather than be limiting to math and language and science, students can be able to learn art, music, physical education. They can do independent work and group work. This will help embrace their hidden intelligence that they might know they don't have. For example, to truly reveal one's intelligence, classrooms can spend more time diversifying the way they learn by equally distributing art class, music class, physical education, so that they're not just limited to doing math and language, which are directly correlated to the mathematical and logical intelligence. Whereas if they were to spend more time doing music class or art class, students with the musical intelligence and spatial intelligence, they'll be able to feel more comfortable at school and the way they learn.
So I've read your book before about the 9 multiple intelligences, and it was very interesting in how you related your intelligences to students' learning. Can you expand a little bit more on those 7 intelligences and what exactly they are?
Okay. So the first intelligence is the mathematical and logical. People with this intelligence usually are very easily able to perform mathematical operations and use reason to solve any problems in the real world. Secondly, we have musical intelligence. People with this intelligence, they have a great appreciation for music and rhythm. They're also able to pick up on a song easily, be able to play an instrument much more faster than the average person. Next is the visual and spatial intelligence. People with this, they're able to recognize patterns in different concepts and images, and they're more artistically inclined than everyone else. Now moving on to the bodily and kinesthetic intelligence. People with this intelligence, they have really great motor skills, and they're able to connect their bodily movements with their mind. They're also very energetic and athletic, and would always prefer sports over anything else. Now, verbal and linguistic. People with this intelligence are very good readers, writers, which makes sense because they're also more likely to become an English teacher, professional speakers, motivational speakers, and so on. Next up is interpersonal intelligence. These people with this intelligence are very sympathetic for others. They're able to put themselves in other people's shoes. And they work really well in groups. That's how they are able to really learn the most. And lastly is interpersonal. This is quite the opposite of interpersonal. This means like someone, they're very shy, but that doesn't mean it takes away from their learning. They just learn better independently and without a big group around them.
Thank you very much for that, Howard. I did have a slight understanding of your multiple intelligences. Just you elaborate on them, and it's enabled me to understand them with more detail. Now let's move on to William Golding. William, want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your novel that you've written?
Well, my entire life I've always been interested in reading and writing, especially from a young age. And I even tried writing my own book at the age of 7, but failed miserably. Well, I only sold one copy, and that was to my grandma. But yeah, for sure, I still continued reading and writing. I went to Oxford, I studied there, studied reading and writing there. And after that, after I graduated, I got into a career of writing and playwriting. But that was short-lived because the World War II started, so I enlisted in the Royal British Navy. And that's just what really heavily influenced my my writings of Lord of the Flies. Basically, I saw the dark side of man, something that I've never seen before. And you only see something like this when one's nose is rubbed in the human condition. That's just a saying I use a lot because that's just the best way I could put my experience in war. But really the idea came from it. I was sitting with my wife at the fireplace, and I had a slump for books. I couldn't find anything good to write. I've tried writing a few books, but they failed. Publishers turned me down. And so I just came up, I'm like, hon, what do you think would happen if just a group of schoolboys in the middle of the war would put on an island together, and how would they behave? What would they do? Would they start a society maybe? And I just had that idea, and I went with that. She told me, start writing, you'll get somewhere, and yeah, the rest was history.
It's very interesting, William. I read that book, and I think that being someone who personally does not enjoy reading, I recommend that book to anyone who does, especially younger boys who are in the age group of the ones that were in the book. 10 to 15 years old. It's a perfect book, and I recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a quick read, but the language is pretty. It's very easily understood, and it's a great storyline too. And it's just it's great. I recommend it to anyone.
So why don't we talk about as a group here collectively how Howard Gardner, your multiple intelligences connect and can be related directly to those characters within the Lord of the Flies.
So you want to start just if you've read the book.
Yeah. So the good thing about my set of intelligence is that there's a wide variety of them. Anywhere from 1 to 7 or even 9 in some cases. So it's able to include everyone, and everyone has their own intelligence, just like I stated in my book. We are all born with one, and it's in our hands to improve it and also embrace it.
Yeah, so definitely in the novel you can see this happening a lot, as each child and each boy has their own sort of personality that relates directly to their intelligence. So for example, Jack, he's more the interpersonal one, where he works well with the group. Like right from the start, he's like the leader of the group. Everyone sees him as sort of like a role model because he can work so well with everyone, and he understands the needs and wants of everyone. But however, there's sort of when each boy has their own intelligence, everything runs smoothly because not everyone's fighting for a power position, whereas in the novel you see this happening with two interpersonal intelligence people that sort of fighting for power between Jack and Ralph. And this is really, it's just a struggle for power because they both want to be leaders, but they're both very different leaders. So Ralph is more of a democratic leader where he wants everyone to be equal. Jack's sort of more of a dictator. It's only what he wants and what he wants to do. So you can actually see sort of two intelligences in him, with the intrapersonal and interpersonal. So he's for the group, but he's also for himself at the same time.
And what can you say about other characters, like Simon, for example? What would he classify in Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences? And what's his role in your novel in terms of intelligences?
Definitely. Simon, he's more of the like I said with Jack, he's more the intrapersonal one, where he's sort of to himself. He's seen always by himself, trying to find a quiet area to just be with himself, be with his own thoughts. And even he starts seeing, when he sees the Lord of the Flies, that symbol, the pig's head, he's sort of he just starts talking to it, and it's sort of himself, his personality that's talking back to him. Another one would be maybe Jack. He could be interpreted as sort of also a naturalistic intelligence, but that's really more a disguise for his savage side, which I like I said, experienced in the war, very dark times.
And what can you say, Howard, about your intelligence is related to some of the characters in the book?
I definitely agree with William. Just like you mentioned before, one of the only change I would make is that I think Sam would be more like the naturalistic. We often see him escape to nature when there's a problem. For example, when he's building the huts with Ralph, he wasn't getting along, and to have some time of his own, he went into the forest and to relax and just reflect about his actions.
Yeah, and just to show how how William and Howard both have different views on one character's intelligence, this shows that we all have different intelligences, and our opinions on some intelligences may be different than others.
We all interpret things differently, like the boys in the book do. They always have a different outlook on things. Like Ralph, he sees things survival. It's more of, you got to get the fire. You need your water, your wood. Where Jack just wants to hunt. So they're different ends of the spectrum. It's just reflective of the different intelligences and personalities, what they strive for, what they need, what they want.
And there you have it, folks. Howard Gardner and William Golding, two special guests on this show tonight, and we further our knowledge of Lord of the Flies and the intelligence and the multiple intelligences. Thank you for having us on the show tonight, and thank you for all of you for watching.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, guys. You're gonna say that?
Wait, like if you chew gum or something, it'll make me stop laughing. Yeah, something.
So we're gonna spit it out. Okay, Rob, do not look at me. Do not look at this guy. Stop! I know you're gonna laugh.
My entire life.
Guys, that's it. You're not talking about accent.
That's the only way. You can't talk like that. I'm gonna die.
Can I say?
I'm gonna die.
Can I say? That's lovely accent you're having.
Anytime. Thank you for having us.
I have to do the accent.
Okay. Don't worry.